Hey guys, if you watched my last video, I talk about why gang stalking isn't taken very seriously, about it doesn't happen very much. And when people usually do talk about it, it's pretty obvious early on that they're not being stalked on a group level, they're not being gang stalked, they're suffering from paranoia, psychosis, suffering from some form of mental illness. And it makes it really hard for legitimate uh, cases like mine to be taken seriously. So that's why I think it's really important to have a credible story and have some facts or have something to prove that your claims are true. Even if you don't have the entire story, if you can at least have something people can kind of grab onto, I think it makes people more open minded to the idea and more willing to listen to what you have to say. So this next video, I'm going to touch on the technology side of my gang stalking because that has been, make no mistake, it has probably been the single biggest um, obstacle that I've been trying to deal with over the last 5 years to have any semblance of normalcy. And so I'm going to go into detail about um, everything that's going on because if you watch my earlier videos in January 2020, I'll probably say this in every video, but it's because it was such a important time in my life. Essentially, my life was never the same after that. But after my home was broken into and all my personal information was compromised, um, that means that it doesn't matter what phone I get, what phone provider, change my phone number, reset my phone, whatever I do, my phone is being monitored by these guys. And a lot of people know that that's the truth because what they'll do is they'll go and run and tell a family member. So I could send a text to some woman in wherever and they'll my mom will know about it. This is a common theme too. They'll go and, oh hey, Michael's talking to so and so. Michael, I mean, these guys are able to monitor my phone calls, and I've have several reports, countless reports of reporting what's going on, yet nothing seems to be changing. Nothing is really done about it, which is really concerning. But these people are able to monitor every call, every text, my search history, and my geolocation. So essentially, what my phone is used as a tracking device to be used against me, and it's just a nightmare. You could imagine if you have people that are not your friends. Actually, they're the opposite of your friends, and they're able to basically pinpoint your location. So, in order for them to be able to do what they're doing, then there's people working at various companies that aren't doing things that are within company policy. In fact, some of these cases you could argue that um, they're breaking the law. They should be charged with crimes. But anyways, my phone is monitored. Everything I do on it. Another thing is that my bank account is hacked. So that means every single transaction I make, they know about immediately. In fact, on Christmas Eve, I went and ordered a pizza and I paid with my credit card, and it wasn't even 20 minutes later and a police officer showed up because these guys will call it police and look, and then the cops around here for whatever reason, at least a few of the cops, not all of them, but it only takes one or two bad cops to make your life difficult. And so what they do is they will tell the cop, oh, he's at this location, and I guess they look for anything, hope that I have a pocket knife that's too big, or I don't know. You'd have to ask them what they're trying to accomplish, but basically make, life difficult for me. And so my bank account's hacked, my credit cards are all hacked, my phone is hacked. What else? They call everywhere I live, and I have, proof that that's going on. It's been an ongoing issue. So the technology part, it makes life really difficult. And even if they weren't able to hack my phone and hack my bank account and do all the things that they're doing, my emails and all that, um, one thing you guys got to remember is that we live in a world today where you can look up just about anything on everyone. I mean, people are constantly doxxed, and you know all that stuff is readily available. So if you have, just their basic information, you can do a lot. You can find out where they live, who their family are, usually where they work, and things like that. And then we live in a world where everyone's walking around with a recording device in their pocket. And so it's not that much of a stretch. What kind of surprises me is, why is everyone taking part in this witch hunt? But I'm just putting this information out there and hopefully kind of spread some awareness on what's going on, because I can't be the only person that's experiencing this. I know there's a lot of other people probably around the country that don't want to talk about it, or they just don't have a credible story. So anyways, this next video is touching on the technology part, and I'm gonna kind of go down on some, because I'm gonna make some claims, but I'm gonna provide some things to back up my claims too. Now listen, guys, I know you don't know me, and so when I start making these claims, you're going to think, oh, this guy's batshit crazy. But listen, you saw the other videos. You saw people taking picture of my car, doing all kinds of bullshit, okay? I told you my background. Everyone that knows me, whether they want to speak openly about it or not, they know my situation, okay? So just bear with me. As I touched on earlier, my phone is compromising. It's being compromised. I had a contract with Verizon. I've since went to T-Mobile. It doesn't matter who my provider is. I still have my phone hacked. That means every call, every text, my geolocation, and my search history is tracked. And the way I know this is because these gang members go and brag. Oh, he was looking at this on the internet. He was looking at that. Show up to places I'm at. They also rung and tell my family what I'm looking at on my phone. So I could be looking at cartel videos. I like to have a private conversation. Maybe I'd like to be able to go somewhere and not have them know about it immediately, and then call there and ask the employees or wherever I'm at to get a picture of me, to give them information about myself. This is one example of proof that you have cell phone employees essentially going to my account and accessing my account and then sharing that information with these gang members. This particular incident happened last summer, and I was living in New Orleans, and I wanted to relocate. I wanted to head out west, but anytime I announce my intentions of anything, these gang members, what they'll do is they'll put a tracking device on my car, and then they'll call the sheriff, state trooper, highway patrol, or whatever, and have them stalk me through the county, the city, the state, and pull me over, look for any excuse to pull me over and arrest me. Another thing they'll do is they'll try to set me up, hoping that I break down on the side of the highway in the middle of nowhere. And if you guys have ever driven that route, driving from Texas to Arizona, New Mexico has huge areas of state highway with just nothingness, no cell phone reception, no gas stations, no nothing. It's just desert. And so it would be a perfect area for, if you were to break down and there's a tracking device, they could essentially pull up on me. And then it's not that far from the Mexican border. And then after that, all bets are off. And so my family's aware of this. I've been dealing with this for a long time. So what I did was I rented a car, and so they couldn't put tracking device on because I had just went and picked it up. They didn't even know what car I was driving. And I headed west. And I stopped in Arizona at a T-Mobile to get a new phone. And so I wrote a review about my experience. A little backstory before I describe my experience at the T-Mobile located at 1844 East Southern Avenue in Tempe, Arizona. I've been dealing with stalking harassment, and my phone been monitored by employees of T-Mobile for some time now. I have made complaint after complaint to customer support regarding the issue, yet it continues to be a problem. So on July 27, 2024, 1800 hours, I went into the store to purchase a new phone. I had been living in New Orleans and rented a car to leave the city without notifying anyone. On this day, I was helped by a polite young man with the sales rep number 092. After providing a valid government ID to sign me in, I was told by this employee that he had to go back to the back office for a minute. He comes back a short time later and immediately goes to look outside and was looking at the car I pulled up in. He then grabbed his phone and was texting with someone. After doing that, he showed me the phone that I was interested in purchasing. I then paid for the phone with cash when he tells me that T-Mobile employee wanted to confirm it was me because I paid with cash and it was for security reasons. So I get a phone call from T-Mobile asking if I was actually Michael Oxley and to confirm it was me. Now, I just provided a valid government ID. I was standing there in the flesh. What more proof do you need that's actually me? Even the sales rep helping me seemed confused and said that's never happened before. Now, I had just left the state of Louisiana and had rented a car to leave without notice. And the first time I go into any type of business, this is the experience I have. Now, I've already made it very clear to support that T-Mobile has employees accessing my account and monitoring my phone activity. This experience hasn't made me any more comfortable being a customer of this company. After buying the additional phone, I left to a nearby hotel. Sure enough, later that night, I had people trying to break into my hotel room. How is this related? Because your phone is essentially a tracking device, and then if someone knows what car I'm driving, it wouldn't be hard to locate me. This isn't the first time something like this has happened before. Oh no. It's been happening for literally years. Yet when I talk to team CEOs and supervisors and support, they tell me that they can't find anything suspicious going on pertaining to my account. Several months ago, I had a supervisor waive my fees for a month, which was a nice gesture. However, it didn't solve my issues. With this recent experience, I requested that my claim be investigated, being that T-Mobile has cameras installed throughout their stores, as well as being able to pull phone records from the day in question. There is no reason why a T-Mobile employee should be calling said store and asking the in-store sales rep what kind of car I was in, nor any other identification information didn't pertain to my account. This is bullshit. I don't know why T-Mobile is not taking this more seriously. So this isn't necessarily a story issue as much as it is a T-Mobile issue. Regardless, I want this review posted so that people are aware of the type of company this is. I'm still waiting for the investigation to be completed, and we'll update the review on this. Supervisors didn't do shit, and it's just more of just nothing getting done. And these are serious allegations. So Uber has been a shit show, both the rideshare companies. And I'm surprised it took me so long to put together, because when it first started happening, it was just like a light switch. When all this started happening, it just all happened at once. And it went from a normal experience to I've had drivers attempt to drop me off at locations other than my destination. When I was living in Jacksonville, Florida, I would order an Uber, and no matter where I was, what I was doing, they would take forever. I would get paired with the driver, and then I would immediately get the ride canceled, and then I'd sit there and wait for 30 or 4 minutes. And I didn't buy a car in Jacksonville because I thought I might leave the country. And so why would you buy a car if you're getting ready to move out of the country? And so for the time I was there, I took Uber when I had to go anywhere very far. And so anyways, Uber employees have been using their software to stalk and harass me for years. Now, as you guys look, there was the God mode. And what it is that Uber and Lyft, they have software where they can essentially track every single customer in lifetime. Now, that means in 2022, Uber had 122 million customers. Any employee, if you go to work at the Uber offices in San Francisco, your very first day, you could look up anybody. Anybody. Friends from high school, your first boyfriend, girlfriend. You can look up Beyonce. You could look up, the vice president. You can look up anybody. And so what employees were doing was they were looking up everybody. So if you look up Uber and Godview in Google, and you'll see that that's what they were doing. They were following their friends around, maybe checking on their girlfriend or boyfriend, make sure they're out where they said they were, and they were actually sued by the state of New York for violating customer privacy. They were fined by the state of New York. Do you want to know how much the fine was? $20,000. Uber is a billion with a B, $1 billion company, and they were fined $20. That would be like the equivalent of you went and broke into someone's house and stole all their personal information, and then they say, okay, well, you're in big trouble. You have to give us a nickel or a penny, really. And so, it is such a joke. And someone had commented on something else, and they said, Uber and all these, a lot of these tech companies, they fall into the category where they're too big to fail. These companies are massive, and you might ask, well, why would they mess with you? Why do they care what you're doing? Like you're not anybody important. And here's the thing. I think if they're willing to waste time and energy on me, then they're doing it too. Because I'm not a journalist. I'm not a diplomat. I'm just some regular guy who got in trouble with the wrong people. And so, but you got to think at the Uber offices, they have over 3,500 employees. Is it such a stretch that maybe one or two of them, like if you're not from Northern California, I think a lot of people like have this delusion that these tech companies are some professional environments. They're not. I'm from Northern California. I live 3 hours from San Francisco. When I was in the Mission District of San Francisco, I knew guys that worked at Twitter. They're just there's crypto bros, just these douchebags. Well, there's tech bros, and they work at these tech companies, and they're really cocky, and they got this god complex, and they're young, and and it's like, are you going to tell me that if you had access to all that information, do you think, are you going to tell me that maybe you might not check up on somebody at one time or another, especially when there's no consequences? And so what it is, and this is many companies, these tech companies in the Bay Area, is a anything goes mentality, because there's no consequences, and they're so you have this sense of being invincible, where hey, we can do whatever we want. And so when I hear people sit there, and with TikTok going down recently, and the government's trying to protect U.S. citizens, right? And everyone's going, oh, I don't care if TikTok has my personal information. I'm not doing anything. I don't have anything to hide. And I'm thinking, you are such a fucking moron. So just to kind of shut anybody up that thinks, well, I don't care if these companies have, these companies have my private information. Yeah, you don't, because you think, oh, well, they can't do anything with it. I hope you don't have a son or daughter that's maybe a teenager, early 20s or whatever, and somehow, some way, some of these employees, because mind you, they employ tens of thousands of people, okay? So God forbid that they come across maybe your son or daughter through social media or some, around the way, some way, and they've shown that they can't be trusted. And if you do just a little bit of research, you'll see that that's what a lot of these employees have been doing. They've been seeing somebody they find attractive or whatever, and they're using their software. Now, tell me, if you have a teenage daughter, teenage son, and you got some employees using their software to find, to essentially stalk your kid. Oh, okay. Does it hit a little bit different now? Yeah, but yeah, it's a little bit different now. And that's what I'm saying. These companies, there's no government oversight. When you have the CEO of Uber saying, oh, we're fucking illegal, we do whatever we want, these arrogant motherfuckers, like, they need to get checked, because they're just getting more bold, and they're more bold. But all I know is that I've literally traveled the fucking world. And when I lived in Germany, do you know I would go to the gym when I was living in Hamburg, and they would use my phone to find out I was going to the gym in another fucking country. They would call the gym I would go to, tell the staff that I'm a predator. And so obviously everyone fucking hated me. Everyone, like, I've never had a problem like making friends, like finding a date, getting a relationship. I've never had, but how are you supposed to have any semblance of normalcy when you go to a gym, you go to a restaurant, and you have people go, he's a Bill Cosby, and you guys know what a Bill Cosby is, right? It's not a comedian, and he's a Bill Cosby, and yeah, and he fled America because people were looking for him. Like, do you have any fucking clue what that's like to travel the world? To be in Thailand or Cambodia, and then they call and go, oh, he went there to go and prey on children, and like, are you kidding me? And then when I come back to the States and I go and look for these Mexican gang members, you know what they do? They act real tough when it's 10 and 20 on one, but when they're by themselves, and I have proof of this, they literally run from me. Like, that's who these guys are, these chicken shit motherfuckers. All right, guys, I'm back. I had to calm myself down, but what you gotta understand is that I've been through absolute hell the last 5 years, and there's so much shit that's been going on, and I want to expose so no one else has to go through this. And so these low-life motherfuckers behind the scenes are exposed for the frauds, cowards they are. So I'm not going to speak too much. I posted a video earlier on the housing situation that goes into detail with Airbnb. So there's really not a lot to add other than the fact that when I first started having Airbnb, people call my Airbnb host and tell them I'm a predator and tell them I'm all kinds of horrible things and ask them to get a description of me and, all this stuff. It's been so blatant. The first time I brought that issue to Airbnb support, the support worker said, you've never said anything before. And I said, what? You never brought it up before. It wasn't like it was like they knew what was going on. And they were surprised that, like, I caught on to it. Because I guess everyone thinks they're really smart, but, like, Airbnb has over 5,000 employees. And what I can promise you, I can guarantee it. And I don't make these claims recklessly. What I can tell you is that you at least have a couple Airbnb employees that are doing stuff they're not supposed to. I could go on for days about this issue. When I was living in Berlin, I took a tour. You know how you can go on tours and take classes and do all kinds of stuff through the Airbnb platform, and so I went on a tour of famous locations in near the government buildings, and I like World War II history. So anyways, I took the tour, and the tour guide was insinuating that I was a Bill Cosby. And so I just spoke with the lawyer about it because I'm not trying to make money off this. I just want it to stop. And it seemed like the only time these, people really kind of act right is when you hit him with the lawsuit. But I don't know. It's long and drawn out. If you guys read up on the eBay stalking scandal, which is like exactly the kind of stuff that I'm experiencing, that happened years and years ago, and the nice old couple that was treated absolutely appalling by eBay employees, eBay executives, they're still going to court. It's that's the thing. I could file a lawsuit tomorrow, but it'll be 5 or 6 years before I even get my case heard. And I've been doing this for 5 years already, and I just want to stop now. I'm so sick and tired of playing these fucking games. No one's going to fact check, but so I essentially have to wait for a whistleblower because that article I posted earlier, and I'm talking about the God view, and if you read the details, the only reason the general public even knows about what Uber employees were up to is because there was a former employee, a whistleblower, who exposed what's going on. There's a Lyft article, and someone claiming to be employee went on some anonymous app, this message board, and claimed that employees are doing exactly what I'm experiencing, but they couldn't confirm that was was just some anonymous post. And so there was no way to confirm my claims. Now, I've contacted the Federal Trade Commission. I've contacted journalists. I'm not just sitting here like doing nothing all day. Like, I've tried to contact so many people. Trust me, guys, I've contacted journalists all over the country, Northern California, Sacramento, San Francisco, several tons in New Orleans, and I can't even get a response. I've contacted journalists who have written about gang stalking in the past and contacted them directly, have sent them in my emails proof and really detailed long emails with all kinds of videos they could pull up, all kinds of articles, to refer to some of the things I'm talking about. It's well put together, and I can't even get a response. And I've been doing this for years and years. This is just a shit show. The fifth and last company that I'm really going to focus on, and when I made this list, I was very careful not to be reckless with these claims. I would go in front of anyone and everyone and can say 100% that these companies are 100% guilty of misconduct, and even a shitty federal agent, a shitty journalist. If the FTC ever decided to get off their ass, you would see that all 5 of these companies are guilty of gross, way beyond gross negligence, just blatant misconduct and in some cases illegal behavior. So listen, DoorDash is not nearly as important in this story as T-Mobile, Lyft, Uber, Airbnb. All four of those companies have literally put me in danger and could have got me seriously hurt or worse. DoorDash is guilty of misconduct. If you look at this order, I ordered a safe because these guys always try to break my home, go through my things. Do you know I ordered this safe and it was supposed to be 45 minutes to have it picked up and dropped off? The shopper went and picked it up 20 minutes after I made the order. And then I saw is that shopper sat in the parking lot of Ace Hardware for an hour. I called and asked, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm getting stuff for other customers." You're getting an hour's worth of stuff from Ace Hardware. And what it was, they actually contacted my driver, told him to wait, and these guys went and had a copy of the keys that go to the safe made. And then when I asked the driver, I had to pick up other things at Ace Hardware. Well, you were en route to come. "Oh, no, I forgot." "You forgot?" So I called and made a complaint, and they tried to cover. So is it life and death? No, but DoorDash is another company that's guilty of misconduct, and that might not seem like a big deal, but when your home has been broken into, I mean, these people are really capable of everything. So it's really important that I have a safe. And I mean, just think about that. If it ever got out that these companies are doing such things, it would be it can't be a good look. But here's the thing: even if they got caught, they would just, "Oh, well, we don't know anything about it, and we had one bad egg." And no, it's not like people are going to stop using Airbnb. They're not going to stop using Lyft, Uber. See what I mean? But I can promise you, as God is my witness, these companies are all doing, and there's a culture. What I've experienced over the last 5 years is there's a culture of these tech companies doing whatever the fuck they want. I mean, whatever they want. So if they want to stalk and harass you, and that eBay scandal, if you guys aren't familiar with it, I think Netflix is making a documentary about it, but it's is right. That doesn't surprise me one bit. The only difference with my case is these guys have at least have enough common sense to not be so blatant as the eBay stalking case. And if you guys aren't familiar with it, there was a couple that used eBay, an older couple, and they had wrote negative things about the eBay online, and executives essentially used all their resources, hired people to stalk, harass them. They would have them like pornography sent to their house, and I believe sex toys, and have them call and say all kinds of filthy things. I mean, it was just like insane. And so when they did a little bit of investigating, it wasn't hard to put it together. So these guys at least have enough common sense to know not to be so blatant. They're not mailing me things. They're not, but they are doing stuff that should be put them in prison. When they're calling my Airbnb host in Hamburg, Germany, and saying that I'm a predator and they should unalive me, I don't know, man. That seems like pretty serious to me. And I'm going to give you one example, and then I'm going to wrap this video up. I went from one Airbnb to another in Hamburg, and when I spoke to the host, he said, "Hey, you can check in now," because it was after 6 o'clock. He said, "You can check in now, but the keys are I think he owned like a skateboard shop or some kind of shop or whatever like that, the owner of the home I was going to rent." And he said, "Come by, it's closed." He said, "But just come around back." And everything about it seemed weird, and I ended up canceling my reservation. But just, your intuition, because I'm not paranoid at all. In fact, I really am, probably put myself in situations that I shouldn't have, So I've been doing this for a long time. Even before all this, not a lot scares me. And so when something is just weird, and it's weird, that little voice inside you going, "Nah, something about this ain't right." And so it was one of those. But when you have employees that are going and calling places when I'm in another country, You can't make this up. And so I'm going to wrap this video up. But I want to make myself very clear because no one's going to watch this. But I can promise you, these guys are so brazen. They're so cocky, doing all kinds of shit that eventually, hopefully, somebody that works for these companies is going to, grow some balls and find their integrity hiding somewhere. Have some integrity. Do the right thing and expose what's going on because you're destroying lives. And what I can say is, these employees are really reckless because when you play with people's lives is you're playing a dangerous game, because karma is very real and people don't forget, and you kind of mess with the wrong guy and things happen. And so it's just better to not get involved in things you really shouldn't have because it'll come back to bite you. And so I'm going to go in on some of the other things I've been experiencing, but I'm going to wrap this video up.